Thank you everyone for being here today during this important panel on how to legally process online hate and or abuse. So to accompany me today and explain this complex and sensitive topic, I'm very happy to welcome first Beatrice Lopez, who is an academic researcher specializing in dynamics of online hate with a particular focus on young people which are exposed to harmful content across digital platforms. She has conducted in-depth research into the transnational circulation of hate speech and how certain websites often monetize and institutionalize back some repository of abuse content that are difficult to regulate using traditional legal tools. I have also the pleasure to welcome Flore Boué-Douane, representing Komisun Naman. It sounds like a prayer. Ireland's independent regulator for media and digital services. So Flore brings a regulatory perspective today on what it means to move from voluntary commitments to binding legal obligation and the challenges involved in holding platforms accountable in a constantly evolving environment. And thirdly, I'm very happy to welcome Yann Luscop, who represents Point of Contact, a leading French NGO dedicated to fighting cyber violence and protecting internet users. He'll share his insights into the real-world barriers to remove illegal hate speech online, from inadvocacy and reporting tools to the disconnect between platform rules and national laws, and the difficult aspects of acting fast enough to have harmful content removed. Just maybe a little reminder, if you want, on the legal framework, because the question today is how we legally process online hate or abuse. Just to remind us what is at stake. We have, first of all, an EU Code of Conduct that has been updated very recently, in last January. It's a voluntary but not partially binding framework requiring swift removal of illegal speech and cooperation with civil society and transparency from platforms. This revised code has been welcomed into the DSA and has been signed by Dailymotion, Facebook, Instagram, jeuxvideo.com, LinkedIn, Microsoft, Snapchat, Rakuten, Viber, TikTok, Twitch, X, and YouTube. Alongside, we have the DSA, the Digital Service Act, that has been adopted back in 2022, that imposes binding duties on platforms, including trusted flagger, cooperation, risk assessment, moderation, transparency, and independent audits. So the DSA is now enforceable and underpins the integration of the Code of Conduct. And we also have the framework decision of 2008 that has been used recently by the French courts in order to sentence a far-right online commentator to 6 months of prison and 10,000 euros fine for incitement to racial hatred after he posted a series of online videos portraying migrants and Muslim communities as a threat to French society. And we also have the Audiovisual Media Service Directive that has been recently used by the ARCOM. I will not go through the national regulation, but throughout Europe we have national regulation, and that's the framework that we have today in order to take down hate or abuse content, knowing that there is a very difficult task to address what is illegal, as it is not defined by the DSA. So to help me tackle this complex question, I will ask questions to my three speakers. First, to Beatrice Lopez. You have studied how algorithm platforms shape youth exposure to online violence, which forms of hate or abuse are particularly hard to address legally today.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. How can I say? I have a PhD in politics, and my research has enabled me to explore different harms and different trends across different digital platforms. And this specific research was done focused on Brazil, and I noticed a correlation between algorithms and incitement to violence, especially in schools. So what I would like to bring today now is an overview of the main, let's say, gray zones, in my view, when it comes to regulation, because as it stands, the regulation is very focused on illegal content. And what about that content that is not exactly illegal, but is harmful? So this is the content that I would like just to, This material here is based on 3 different studies that I've conducted since 2019. The first one, the first trend, video game simulations. This specific one simulates torture, and it could be considered a kind of online abuse because the speakers are young people and they are talking about what they could do to somebody. And basically there, they are using a hammer to cut the other person into pieces. The second one, AI-generated videos reproducing violent crimes targeting women. This is a very prominent topic, especially on TikTok. So we have young people using generative AI tools to produce deep fakes. And in this specific one, we have a deep fake in which a victim of torture and murder basically describes the way in which she was killed. Third one, AI-generated animations romanticizing the Holocaust. This one was brought to my attention by my sister, because at that time she used it to work as a moderator for TikTok. This video became viral on TikTok. So it captured the attention of the moderators, was taken down from TikTok, but then it emerged on YouTube and is actually still available on YouTube. This is a generative AI trailer that represents Hitler as a hero and is still on YouTube. Fourth, AI-generated xenophobic and racist images. That specific one comes from my research that I'm doing right now on the role played by AI in the far-right riots in the UK. So we found several posts using generative AI tools to represent this antagonism between Muslims, between immigrants and the British people. And they are mainly using these to attract attention to these discourses on Twitter, on X. And finally, we have there videos performing stigmatizing conspiracy theories as scientific truth. This is one of the main loopholes that I identify in the existing legislation, because when it comes to hate speech, I think that we still have this idea that hate speech will come only with so explicit, like racist, sexist, xenophobic. But in my view, this content, yes, is super harmful, but the other one that is not like perceived as illegal is equally harmful, sometimes even worse, because it is not captured by moderators and it freely circulates online. That material there is an infographic produced by an American white nationalist think tank. It was found on YouTube and is still available there. So this is just to give you an idea of, okay, we have a very, in my view, Europe has like made a great effort to bring in regulations, and we have like a comprehensive regulation here. We also have one in the UK, but there are still many gaps to be addressed, and these gaps are extremely harmful.
Yeah, thank you for those examples, which show the difficulty to draw the line on what is acceptable and what is not. And so many people are talking about the negative impact of social media on children and youngsters after the Netflix show Adolescence. Some countries are trying to address this issue through regulatory framework that make recommendation to online platform. In your mind, which improvements do you think could be made in existing regulation?
So I have a few recommendations, but I'm sure that my colleagues here, they're in a better position to contribute to this. So in my humble opinion, the first one is that in the existing regulations demands platforms to encourage and to flag and to facilitate reporting, the flagging of harmful, illegal content. But the thing is that, and this I mentioned early in the morning, the button to report is not explicit on the platforms, is not visible. And this is not a minor detail. Because if we think like, when we open the feed of Facebook and Instagram, we see there the button like, comment, share. What is the report button? If we are encouraging the public to report, they need to have that button there super visible, shining, so they will report. So this is one of the things. The other things would be I wonder if we could expand the legal content framework to also enable the public to report content that they consider harmful, they consider inaccurate. So these would give us a more comprehensive, how can I say, approach to the topic. Another thing is, and this is especially about the DSA, because when I was reading the DSA, I noticed that there is an emphasis on social media networks and now the Generative AI Act on generative AI tools. But what about websites? What about streaming? What about other apps? Because these actors are also following these advances. I know that these we are aware of the situation, but my sense is, and by following the evolution of the far right, is that they are creating their own institutions, their own foundations, their own apps, their own streaming conglomerates. In Brazil, we have a massive one that produces multimedia material across their own platforms. So how do we handle this? And another example is also in Brazil, there is a website that showcases videos produced by criminals reproducing murders and torture. And this content is there. And this content can be accessed also here in Europe. So how is that? There is clearly some things there that must be addressed. And in my point of view, those would be some suggestions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Maybe handing over to you, Flor, as the representative of the regulator overseeing DSA. You probably have also some thoughts to bring. Maybe you can explain first what is your organization and how to pronounce it correctly.
So as part of my interview, I think, hopefully, that's why I was hired, because I could pronounce it properly. So it's Commission Naman, or CINAM, I would say. So I'm Flor Boedo, and I'm Director of Platform Supervision in Commission Naman. I started about 18 months ago. And Commission Amman has only been created 2 years ago. Before that, it was just the media as, I would say, traditional media regulator, and then the online safety part was introduced, and the government created this independent agency called Commission Amman. So since 2 years, we're working really hard on our 3 regulatory blocks. So one is the DSA, because since 17th of February 2024, we've been designated as Digital Service Coordinator in Ireland. The European Commission is the main supervisor for lots of the very large platforms, but there is also lots of other ISPs in Ireland. So they have exclusive power on and exclusive remit on for some of these big platforms, but we also work closely with them, and there is some other competencies we share. We also have another regulatory instrument, which is the online safety code, which is come from the transposition of the AVMSD that was implemented in November last year, and it's for video sharing platform. At the moment, we have designated 10 companies as a video sharing platform, and as the DSA is about more illegal content, on the online safety code, it's illegal and also harmful content that is targeting on this type of platform. And then we also are the competent authority for TCO, so the terrorist content online, under Article 12 CND. So we are competent for the assessment of the specific measure that the HSPs that have been designated as terrorist content need to bring to us, as well as the enforcement one, so we can also impose sanction or fine to them. So how we work with all of these regulatory instruments. We call it as part of our online safety framework. And there is few, and especially for, I guess, online 8, I will say, there is a few things we can do. So first of all, we talk about illegal content, but there is also for the really very large platform this risk assessment obligation, which is to really look, and it's on accountability, what are the risks that are posed by their service and how to mitigate them. And that's something that is actually public. So we had the first one that was published last year, which can give an idea where to focus. There is also, and I think the reporting button, as you say, or Article 16 of the DSA, I will say, is really important, because I think it's at the core of everything. And I think if, first of all, I think it helps to have the content taken down if you can report, and in a easily, and there is really a notice and action mechanism behind. So for example, we have, publicly, we have sent some requests for information to some platform last year around it to see what they're doing about that, what to explain to us, what are the notice and action mechanism. Still under review, but we're really looking at, that's something that we find really important. And the last thing I would say is, I think around, so we work with what is illegal, and I guess in Europe that might be also confusing, because as we call illegal hate speech, that can be different depending on which country you are, and it's not easy for anyone to know. What is illegal in Germany might not be illegal in Ireland, for example. So that's something to bring awareness also to the public of what is illegal, because some people sometimes don't really know. I think that's also something that is important, and I guess, can I add one last thing? But I think we'll talk about that. I think Jan can then go on this, is that the code of conduct actually that has been added to the DSA. So the code of conduct on countering illegal hate speech online that was added to the DSA on January this year is also something that will help, because I know it's voluntary, but it's kind of there will be monitoring reporter that will be designated to report this content, and it is also auditable. And that's also something that is really important. I mean, there is really accountability that the platform would sign for that will be auditable on what they are doing. So it's kind of a way of willingness. I think it was something that was voluntary before. It was something that came from 2016, and it was between the platform. It was a good initiative, but that's something, I think it's a plus also to combat illegal hate speech online, yeah.
Yes, maybe Jan, you can say a word as a trusted flagger organization about those challenges.
Yeah, yeah. So, as it has been said, I'm Jan Leskop, head of projects and studies at Point Contact. Point Contact, for those who might not know about us, is an NGO, French NGO, working to tackle cyber violences online and protect the digital rights of every human being, basically. We mainly operate a reporting platform. We do have, last year it was about 42,000 of reports each year, and we've been designated as a trusted flagger just last week. So we take that part very, very, very carefully and with all our hearts, as like to play the landscape, I would say the trends that we experience right now at Point Contact regarding the spreading of illegal content is mainly something that, as a reporting platform, we do very well, is like making a difference between which is really illegal under French law, actually, and what is harmful content. And as you really well presented it, we encounter this type of content, but we don't actually have the right. Like we work closely with national authorities on removal and sending them the real worst material that you can find out there. So like if we talk about figures, we received last year 1,500 reports about hate speech, but only 1 out of 15 are really incitement to hatred, and those kind of reports we do send them to the national authorities in order to have them removed, and we have like a real great rate of removal when it comes to this kind of thing. But we know there is out there hate and harmful content around here without being able to act on it. But what worries me the most, I would say, is what we've been observing at Point Contact in the last few weeks or month, is like the fact that even illegal content is no longer being taken down. I've got an example with me. I don't want to bring it on here, but it's really awful content, really incitement to like violence against LGBT people that are no longer being moderated. I asked my colleague to do the full process of having like an appeal being made under the DSA and all that, and the platform still not do anything about it. So that's a trend that worries Point Contact a lot. And in regard with the code of conduct, if I can say that, as you said, Flor, there is like the DSA systemic risk approach, and Point Contact is actually applying to the status of monitoring reporter under this code of conduct, and we are aiming to like give to the Commission and all the institutions all across Europe real figures about, in a very short periods of time. What do the platforms do? And even I could have so much example actually about other platforms that that take 1 month to respond to us when it comes to harassment, and with content of people being beaten and all that. So it kind of getting worse and worse, I would say. And there are specific difficulties, technical difficulties also, but I don't want to to go too much.
No, it's perfect. Yeah, what we observed, I think, is that they are more and more hiding behind terms of use, asking for legal judgment, which takes a lot of time because it's an effort for the people, and the judgment always arrives too late. So it's probably another organization of the legal framework to think about in order to have maybe something, because I come from the domain names world. That's how I began 20 years ago, and that's what we discussed. And I believe it was one of the project of the WIPO to kind of imagine the same system, but it seems that if there is no voluntary action from the platforms, and if the legal response is too long, there's a third voice or path to imagine, to think about, and to have some effects. There is a button of line, of course, but if a content is flagged and there is no reaction from the platform, what can we do?
Yeah, and if I could actually bounce back on the term of services, that is a practice that we observe in the moderation process of content. There are some platforms, I will not name them, that would rather let us go through the channel of term of use, community standards and all that, so that they are not real notification on notice of takedown under the DSA, under the Article 16 you mentioned. They are actually, go through that channel so that we are more protective. We do have a company ethics, I don't know how to call that, but yeah, we are doing so much work in the trust and safety world, but actually when it doesn't count as some report that will be sent to the Commission when we do a transparency report and all that. So we have to go to the legal channel, which is always more difficult. And when we go through them, we are facing things like, oh yeah, you have to have a court order. So and without that, we won't take down that content. Or even when it comes to illegal content, and you said that right, between different kind of countries, there is so much difference in the legal provision. So we have to explain them how it is illegal in France, and we have like 200 words to explain the full legal reasoning, telling us about the law that we want to quote, and how this particular content is falling under this kind of provision, and we have like a few words to talk about that, and it's gone when you've reached the appeal. It's no longer actionable. So it's really like you are not moderating, and more you're not letting us do the job as a trusted blogger that we do since years and years, and it's really making things very difficult, more so when we are with a victim, a real victim of this kind of content. So yeah, it's actually...
Yeah. Knowing that illegal is not defined, so what is illegal exactly? And we are facing the same difficulty again that we had back 20 years ago with the LCEN. What is a content that is obviously illegal or harmful? So back to you, Beatrice. What would be your vision for the future? What would you recommend doing in order to improve the situation? And maybe we'll give also the possibility to the audience to react and ask some questions. But just as a last word, maybe.
Thanks for that. I think that my answer exceeds like the scope of this type of regulation, because I think that we are reaching a point in which We have like a consistent, comprehensive, with some gaps, yes, but it is a comprehensive legal framework. But we have like faced backlash from the platforms. It's getting more and more difficult to process the report, to have people reporting. Things are not really moving positively. So I think that is really, we really reached a point in which we need to think creative before even we have like online abuse and online hate speech. We need to think about legal framework when it comes to education. I really think that now we reach a point in which we need to have these conversations at school. We need to have this conversation with parents. We need to have like legal frameworks, but focus on education, because solely relying on the companies is clearly not working. But this, if we focus on education, is something that we can do, that we do not depend on the platforms. We can do independently. And then, if we think with the mindset of private companies and NGOs, there is a huge market potential there, because there is this need. Schools are desperate to discuss this topic. Parents are desperate for information. But we do not have this information out there in a way that is accessible, in a way that is engaging. So this is the main challenge, in my view, now.
Excellent. Of course.
Can I just add something? I know. So the DSA is really, it's a really new legislation, and I think we haven't seen also everything that it's, you know, capable to do. So, and it's really, everything is evidence-based, it's risk-based. So it's only started last year. Sorry, that, you know, before it was only applied to the VLOPs and the VLOCs, and now it's for everyone. So it's to identify who they are, it's to start to engage. There is, it's taking some time, and that's why I think it's an ecosystem, and that's why, you know, trusted flagger work is really important, researcher work is really important to kind of look, and the engagement with the platforms themselves is also very important, because you have a difference between a big platform with lots of, you know, money and can do lots of things. And then there is also the small one who kind of just aware of it, and how we make sure that we talk a lot about safety by design, and how they have the mitigation measure in place. So I know it's always easy to say, oh, it doesn't work, and then, you know, let's try something else. But I think it's good to give it a little bit of time, and see how it's going to progress, if I can say.
May I just add something? I think that you're totally, I think that they complement each other. If we have like people, youngsters and also adults, well informed about their power, that they can report, about what they could do, about how to critically engage with material online, we'll have better, like better informed citizens. And then the regulation will fully apply, because imagine if we have thousands of people reporting at the same time, the platforms will have to do something. But the problem is that we do not have both of them. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, no, I fully agree.
So it depends on you, actually, about the education that you will give to your children and the action you will take in order to take down this illegal content. But maybe you want to react and ask questions to our speakers, or remarks, or ideas.
Maybe I should not as moderator speak, but I think what was striking in this session, I would like just to hear whether I got it right, but I mean, we were expecting year over year to make progress. And actually, what you described today was pretty, I mean, bad. Let's be like pretty negative. But it's interesting in front of a regulator who is just coming into the game. So I think my question is, okay, considering that what your experience on the ground is going negative, and now that we have the regulator just coming, and you, as you said, you're going to test. So do we have reason to hope, to be more hopeful that progress will come, or what's your, I mean, situation is bad, but does it look more promising? And maybe for the regulator to say, because it seems you're their hope in this on this panel. So just wanted to check your opinion for the how the future looks like.
Okay, I'll start. Yeah, actually, we've just been designated as a trusted flagger, so we don't want to be not too hopeful. We do hope the status will give us the magnitude and the impact that we expect. And actually, I think on the side of the cooperation between civil society and regulators, it's actually going well. We do have the support of the outcome, even in the process of like reaching to platforms wherever, because they are their first the first person they have a dialogue with when it comes to regulation. And so they can act as a bridge between the civil society, who kind of feel hopeless sometimes, and the big platforms. We do hope that the transparency reports, when we are, I don't think we are 30 yet, trusted flagger. So we have to have a full year of nomination, publishing our first transparency report, and we do hope that the regulators will make their job once we tell them that we encounter difficulties. I think whether it be systemic risk by watching our transparency report, but also systemic risk as like, yeah, you've not being moderating content, and one of the aspects of the systemic risks are the dissemination of illicit content. So basically, I think we can still have hope, but like, I don't know how to say that in English, but le bras de fer between all the civil society and the platform is engaging, and we don't know yet what the outcome will be on our side, I would say.
I can finish if you want, or I can go, yeah? Okay, yeah, so being new in the, I think the time of self-regulation it has been, tried, and I work in the trust and safety world. Before, I know how these teams are really dedicating and trying, and that it has been difficult, but it didn't really work because it was depending of which company, what was, the priorities. Always needed to fight for business case to get some resources or funding sometimes. So I think regulation can be a good thing, and I will say that doesn't impede innovation or anything, but I just think it puts some guardrails and really put everyone kind of on the same level in a way. As I say, I think the DSA is a framework. It's not only the regulator, there is lots of other stakeholders, I would say, that also kind of support it. And that's why civil society is really important. That's why researchers are really important. And I fully agree also that awareness about what is the DSA, what is your rights, how, everybody can work together, is also really important. And at the end of the day, I think there is lots of things you can engage with the platform, and I don't know, that's my vision of supervision, is that you engage, try to do things voluntary, but then if there's no engagement, if there's no compliance, then you move a little bit further, and then you have, some power to go to compliance notice or investigation or even sanctions. So let's see. Hopefully there will be engagement from everyone, but that's I just think we can have this conversation again maybe in a year or two and see.
Appointment is made. See you in 1 year. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, for your expertise, and for your thoughts. And so let's meet up in 1 year. Thank you.